Welcome to Classic Car Cave. So, for people just watching in, this is a 1930s Citroen U11. I believe it was a Rossolet, I'm not sure if that's pronounced correctly, but I'm pretty sure it was a Rossolet saloon car. And when I picked up this car from an apple barn in Steiermark, where I live, in Austria, the back was already cut off it, so there was only basically the front part of the cab. Since that time, if you look back at some of the older videos, we've completely stripped it, sandblasted it. The first thing we did actually was get it running and got it moving so we could brake, we could operate the gears, could accelerate, and we drove it up and down the road a few times. Then we completely stripped it, sandblasted it. It's in white now, white primer. And basically the cab is in quite poor condition. So the idea of this exercise, or this set of videos, will be I'm going to turn this into a hot rod. So obviously I can't use the 30 horsepower U11 engine that's in it because it's too slow. It's only got 3 gears. So my thinking is something along the XKR, XK8 4 litre, not supercharged, but maybe not an I was thinking XKR, but it's supercharged and it comes with problems. But basically the running gear from a Jaguar, where it's got independent IRS and front suspension, and the engine that I could use, probably a 4 litre normal aspirated engine, whether that's XK, XKR, XJS, like the V12s. But there are some other vehicles that I could use. There's lots of X300s, that kind of Jaguar lying around where the bodies are shot, and they're kind of going for not a lot of money. But what I'm not sure about doing at the moment is whether I need to get some kind of documentation. I need to possibly get documentation for this vehicle as it is from Citroen. I have the chassis plate, I have the body plate, the gearbox and engine plate. Now there's some chance that I could take that to their archives, to Citroen's archives, and actually get some paperwork for it. That would be the way to go. And if necessary, put the engine and gearbox and running gear, but it's got running gear on it, but everything back in, get it working to at least just get some paperwork, and then rebuild the motor and build a new chassis and so on and so forth. So what we'd end up actually doing is probably using just the body, and I'm going to make it into a pickup back. So therefore what I want to do in this set of videos is I'll start rebuilding. I'll rebuild the front of the car, or the cab. What's going to be the cab of the car. There is no back end on it; it's completely gone. So I need to just cut through it with a saw or an angle grinder. So there's not much there. So I have to completely rebuild that. So there's going to be a lot of metal work, a lot of English wheel, a lot of hammer and dollying, using bead rollers, all kinds of stuff. So hopefully it's going to be quite interesting. So it will be a separate video. I'll put it on, I'll make up a name and give it a separate title. So what I'm going to do now is quickly show you around what we've got at the moment and where we need to be with it. So hope you'll come along for the ride. What you can see at the moment is we've got the cab bolted back down here and here. We're using the same mechanism, and then they're bolted in through the side here. So the front of the cab is secured. There's very little of the back end, as you can see. Excuse me. As you can see, there's virtually nothing of the back end of the roof. So what we've done is I've made these slides up so they can slide backwards and forwards, because obviously I need to get this in line, and it needs to be right alongside that chassis there. So I'll do a measurement along that chassis on both sides, and we've made them so that they can move in and out. Once I've got that lined up, what I'll then do is sandblast the inside of these legs here and make a box section to go up inside them to be welded in, and I'll weld them along here. I'll drill holes through the side so the chassis, I can make a box section frame that goes in for the floor. But as you can see, it's in fairly poor condition. So let me just step over without tripping. Step over this chassis. So you can see here, this leg is completely gone. This triangular leg, or this little pyramid, is completely gone. So that needs replacing first. This one's not in much better condition, and obviously the bottom of what went down onto the sill is gone, and as you can see there's a strengthener there but nothing in there. So we're basically talking all of this has to come out. But what I'll do first is make the 4 mounting points. So I'll build this one here, then rebuild this one, and then make a frame which goes down the side of the chassis, connects some way here, across and back up here, so the frame is solid and it can't move around, and I'll show you how that's going to go. So this is one that was made earlier. This will go on the one that's on the worst side. This is actually stainless steel, and I can make another one. So Amir made these patterns up so I can actually make another one for the other side. So they'll be made exactly how they were on the car in the 1930s. Obviously on this it needs to have a flange coming up here and along, which I'll now take you over and show you. So you can see this is the piece we're recreating. This is it here. You can see how rotten it is, but it obviously needs that flange on it here and here. Now it would have been obviously easier to make the flange on this, but this is stainless steel, which is extremely hard to cut. But not just that, it's extremely hard to bend because it's very thick, as you can see. It's got quite a thickness on it. I think that's probably a couple of mil, that 2 mil, maybe 2.5, I'm not sure. But it's nice and strong and it's stainless. So what I'll do is I'll actually just make the flange for it here and then weld it in place. And so I'll make 2 of these, and then I'll put them on, secure the front first, and then work towards the back, and then we'll go from there. But there's lots of issues, obviously. You can see here the door gap isn't too bad, and it's terrible on this one, extremely tight. These rain channels are in poor condition, so they have to be unspot welded and taken off because they'll be terribly rusted underneath. And like I said before, some idiot tried to put a chain around here to lift the cab off. It was probably still attached and didn't think about it, using no common sense, and tried to lift it and damage the cab on both sides. So as I said, for 30 seconds of thoughtlessness, I'm going to spend hours and days getting all this re-sorted out. Again, you can see this one's actually coming off a little bit, so I'll get that one done as well. Yeah, so that's where we are with it. As again, I said, I made these so that they're movable, so I can get this distance right, because that's the whole crux of the matter, is to get the cab square and correct before I make the frame, and then the frame will be mounted to it so it can't move again. The back bit, you can see this is where the back doors would have been, where they were probably suicide doors on the back, I would imagine, looking at that lock. So the doors could probably open that way for the rear seats. But what I'll do is I'll make this into a complete rear back with a window in the back of it. So it will be a pickup truck. And I have the rear arches here, which I kindly got from a friend in Belgium, Steve, who has a D3S shooter channel, very good channel. And obviously here are the wings, which are quite bad, but we can repair them. There's the hood, and there's a few other bits and pieces lying around. The sides, which have really nice vents in them, I think you can see there. So there's a lot of work to do. Now this will be an ongoing project because I'm waiting for my Jaguar XK150 Roadster to come back from the paint shop, and we have everything ready for that brand new to go on it. So that will take precedence over this. But I hope you'll follow the build, and I'll be starting tomorrow. Amir's gone off for a 2-week holiday, for his 2-week break, and I'm going to try and get this cab into good shape by the time he comes back, and cut as much out of the rust as we can, and make it solid. So it's the idea that it's on this. We made this frame up here, this extendable frame. So what we can do is, once I've got it solid, I can lift it up and down, do the repairs that will pull the chassis in and out, and just make life a lot easier. So I hope I hope you'll follow with it and enjoy it. I have to say, I love doing metalwork. It's very, very rewarding. It can be frustrating at times, but it's very rewarding when you take it from a basic flat panel and make it into something. There's a lot of it really gives you a good feeling when you finish it and complete it. So on that note, I hope you'll watch in and some of the other videos as well, possibly on Classic Car Cave, because we've got Minis, Jaguars, all kinds of stuff, and stuff that we do actually do in the garden as well. So as usual, stay safe, keep the faith, enjoy your hobby, be good to each other, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.